Hi friends, welcome to today's video. We're going to be talking about 20 exciting new releases in the year of 2023. These are all very recent releases, either at the top of the year, but many have been from late spring into early fall here. I've been excited about these. I have watched some single reviews on these and have been tempted to blind buy them. I'm trying to be better about slowing my roll. I can't say I've been successful, but I'm trying to be better and sample fragrances first before I go out and purchase full bottles of them. So we have 20, 5 of which I have not had the opportunity to try but really want to. And I think I'll start with those and share just some quick thoughts about what I think they might be like for me. And then I have 15 for which I have sacrificed my nose, my skin, my time to sample these for you and bring you my thoughts. Hope you enjoy. I'd love to hear your thoughts as we go along in the video in the comments. If you've tried some, or heck, if you've purchased them and had a similar or different experience, tell us all about it in the comments. We want to hear about it and learn from each other so that we can be better informed consumers. Let's dive in. So I have been very close to blind buying this one because something in my soul and heart tells me I would likely really love this. It has my name all over it. It is Guerlain's Tobacco Honey. Notes of honey, tobacco, vanilla, tonka bean, clove, sandalwood, all notes that really appeal to me personally. The color of the bottle, the look of this line of bottles from Guerlain, the fact that you can customize the ribbon and the metal plate on the top and engrave it if you like is a huge draw for me. The price tag on these is a little bit much. A full-size bottle of this, I think at the moment, runs about $380 US. Woo, that's a pretty penny for a bottle of fragrance. However, the notes are really attractive to me. I like the way that people have described their experience with it. I have a trusted friend of mine who knows my taste and tried it out, who said she thinks I would really like it. And so I am very tempted, but I do have a decant of this on the way. It did not arrive in time for this video. Darn it. But I have a feeling that this is going to be a big winner for me. I'm getting more and more into honey here, particularly as we go into the fall and the winter months. And I've always been a tobacco fan. I'm a growing vanilla fan. I've always liked vanilla, but I haven't been as obsessed with it as I have been over maybe the past 6 months or so. And the other notes are really appealing as well. I mean, who doesn't? I love sandalwood. I was going to say who doesn't love sandalwood, but I know that many are not into it. I do love a good sandalwood note. Clove, especially as we're looking here into the fall and the coming holiday season, sounds really appealing. So I've got my eye on this one and can't wait to get my nose on this when it finally shows up in my mailbox. Maybe I'll post over on Instagram. If you don't follow me there, I'm at Essential Veronica. I've changed my name on Instagram a few times because I don't know who I am in this world. But right now I'm Essential Veronica. So go follow me there if you would like to see some content here and there. I don't post frequently, but I do try to get over there several times a month at least. So see you over on Instagram. Let's keep going with these.
My decant did arrive and I did test it several times. And as lovely as this is, I don't think I'll be purchasing a bottle at the moment. This does open with a sweet, thick honey note and wet tobacco. In the dry down, however, the tobacco gets much drier, like dried out tobacco leaves. And I perceive something that is like a hay-like note. And deeper into the dry down, the honey becomes more of a sidekick while the tobacco takes front and center stage. And like I said, it's just a little bit dry for my taste and maybe a tad on the masculine side. It's lovely, but I do have a host of other tobacco fragrances that I would likely reach for before this. Notably, if you're thinking about honey and tobacco together, Naxos from Xerjoff comes to mind. Tobacco Maniac from Theodoros Galotinis comes to mind. And then I have other tobacco fragrances like Herod from Parfums de Marly that I would reach for before this, as well as my very favorite tobacco, Ambre Tabac from Daniel Hosier. So if you do not have honey tobacco fragrances and you want something like this, I would absolutely say take a chance on this one. It is really pretty. Just know that it leans slightly masculine and gets drier in the dry down, but the performance is fantastic and so is the projection.
Next, we come to Apple Love from Ellis, Brooklyn. I've had hit or miss luck with this house, but I love their bottles and I do appreciate the aesthetic that each fragrance is trying to sort of evoke, even if the fragrances don't work out for me. So I do like the color of this bottle. I think it's a rich, beautiful color as we move deeper into the fall and winter. Love the name, Apple Love. I was thinking of the Juicy Eden apple from Kayali when I saw this, but it doesn't look like they are similar and no one has said that this smells like that fragrance. And I like that fragrance too. It's nice. I don't have a bottle of it, but that's a nice fragrance. This one is supposed to be fruity, obviously an apple note, peach, and it looks like some citrus and some floral notes along with sugar cane. Sugar cane is an interesting note because people expect for it to be sugary sweet. And what I learned from a perfumer is that sugar cane, which I have eaten raw, actually has a touch of greenness to it. It makes sense now that the person associated that for me. It's sweet, but with a touch of like earthy greenness to it. I get that. And I think that would be an interesting contrast to the sweetness from the fruits in this fragrance. There's Lily of the Valley, which can sometimes be really hit or miss for me in fragrances. Sometimes it comes across a little metallic soapy for me in a way that isn't appealing on my skin chemistry. However, other times it's fresh and clean. And so this fragrance is supposed to be fruity and sweet and does have some freshness to it. So I'm interested to try it. Vanilla and musk and woody notes in the base. Looks like it has poor longevity and poor protection from the Fragrantica reviews. So that's not exciting about it, but I'm definitely going to try to spritz this on and see what I think about it firsthand. But those Ellis Brooklyn bottles, they just call to me, the shape of them, the colors, even if they don't work out for me. So definitely eager to try this one out. Have you tried it? What do you think? Let us know below. Next up is Cherry Ambition from Seven Virtues. I really, really like Santal Vanille from this house. It's one of my top sandalwood fragrances, warm with touches of sweetness. Definitely check that out. But I've had some misses from this house as well. Of course, I can't recall the names at the moment. So I'd be interested to see what Cherry Ambition smells like. The label on this is not appealing to me. These dark cherries on here just look really thrown together. Like, could we have put together a more appealing photo? So whoever the creative director of this labeling is, I want to talk to you. We should chat. But the fragrance, let's talk about that. The description on Sephora: manifest your dreams, my dreams, with aromatherapeutic, long-lasting cherry powder. When I think about aromatherapeutic, I think about spa smells. I think about spearmint and peppermint and eucalyptus, and maybe even citrusy notes all combined together. So what I'm about to read you, to me, doesn't sound aromatherapeutic, but I'd be interested to see how this is all put together. So this is sustainable sandalwood and upcycled cognac. I'm kind of tired of the word upcycle, but that's a conversation for another day. Gourmand vanilla swirls with candied agave. Ooh, and bursts with cherry blossoms and florals, crowned by warm amber suede and gaiac wood musk. Spritz for the sweet scent of success. Anyway, so what's appealing to me about this description? Cherry and florals together could be really lovely. Who doesn't appreciate some warm undertones in a fragrance? And I love a gourmand with some woody undertones. So I'm really interested to try this fragrance. I don't think it's been cataloged on Fragrantica, at least at the time that I am filming this video, but hope to try it soon. Seven Virtues is a clean fragrance brand, which often means that they're not using different chemicals, including fixatives that usually tend to make fragrances last longer. I don't know what is in Santal Vanille that makes it last forever, but some of the other fragrances that I've tried from Seven Virtues don't last. So let's see how Cherry Ambition does. Next, we have Under the Stars from Maison Margiela, another house that is notorious for having fragrances that don't last a long time. Some do, some don't, rather. So this one is Oud and Leather. And if you're familiar with the replica line, they're supposed to take you back to a place in time. This one is set in 2022. So just last year in Namibia. And it's described as an oud and leather fragrance. It's supposed to evoke sitting by a fire under the stars, warm and cozy, and having maybe that smokiness. I'm adding the smoky description. It doesn't say that in what I'm reading here, but you're mesmerized by a tapestry of stars and enjoying the crackling sound of the fire and all of that. Because it's oud and leather, I think that this is not going to be a release that's appealing to ladies. However, I would like to try it. Sometimes oud and leather fragrances are right up my alley. We have enough oud and leather fragrances that perhaps, this one would have to be unique to be added, but I like the idea of this fragrance. There's pepper, leather, agarwood, which is oud, and then labdanum in the fragrance. It does appear from the Fragrantica reviews that this is a masculine fragrance, so one that I will probably spritz in store and see if it's of interest enough for me and certainly for my husband. Next up is the whole Oudgasm collection, which I'm counting as one release, even though it's actually 4 bottles from Kayali. We know that the Kayali marketing team is genius. My hat goes off to Monica Tan and her team. Every time they have a new release, they nail it in terms of the marketing and sending out PR to influencers to put on Instagram and everywhere else. These releases get a ton of hype. So Kayali has a really sort of cult following. I'm not part of that cult following, but there are Kayali fragrances that I do enjoy. Now, this Oudgasm line, first of all, the name is brilliant. Giving you a high five, Mona, for Oudgasm. Oud is not a note that women tend to gravitate to, like I just said with Under the Stars. However, how brilliant to connect it to something else in the industry that has been really popular. And I don't know that this was intentional, but years ago, NARS got really jiggy with it and decided to put out, remember the Orgasm blush? Is that what it was called? Which sort of was part of this whole trend of putting sexual types of names, naughty names on makeup products. And that found its way into the perfume industry as well. Not that there weren't perfume names before that time period. So I'm looking at like the early, 2010s into 2020, like that decade there was the decade of naughty names in makeup products. So that NARS Orgasm blush was a big hit. Anyway, the combination of oud, which is something that ladies are usually not that into, with something related to orgasm that would capture the attention of women is brilliant in terms of marketing. There are 4 types here: vanilla oud, cafe oud, tobacco oud, and rose oud. I've seen some really great reviews on these as well. I would like to try them all. I have a feeling that the vanilla oud is going to be the most attractive to me, and maybe the tobacco oud as well. The rose oud might be the least, if it is similar to all of the other sort of rose oud combinations that are out there on the market, which there are umpteen of. Or maybe it's unique. I didn't love the last release, the wedding collection. I didn't try the male version. I only tried the Santal one. Silk Santal, I believe it's called. Is that correct? And I ended up selling that to a friend here on YouTube who loves it, by the way. A lot of people really love that fragrance, but there was just something in it I couldn't get down with. So for me, anyway, Kayali is not one of those blind buy houses like it might be for other folks. I really need to try and see if I would like a particular one. Let's keep going. Now we're going to get into the fragrance that I have actually sampled and had a blast trying out. So let's kick off with Vanille Leather from BDK, a fragrance that I don't think is available in the US. I believe that you have to purchase it abroad. And so I was on somebody's website abroad somewhere and added to cart and then pumped my brakes and said, let me sample this first and see what I think. This is, I believe, a mass appealing fragrance, meaning a lot of people, I think, would enjoy this easily. So this is a fragrance that came across very familiar yet transcendent to me, like some memory of the past. I have smelled something like this somewhere. It brought me some comfort and like immediately transported me to that place, but also sort of transcended me out of the experience that I was currently in. Why is that? This was a super duper smooth fragrance. It felt like it was a smooth iris, but I believe the primary floral note in here is actually violet, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me in the comments if it is actually iris. And this was a distant, buttery suede, meaning that the suede wasn't front and center. It was a background player to that really beautiful, soft, smooth, cold floral note. But it was definitely surrounded in the background by this just really soft, buttery suede feeling. And I found this to be delicately feminine. Really enjoyable fragrance. Did I pick up a lot of leather in this? I don't remember if I do or did not, other than the suede experience. It was more so in that sort of fuzzy, suedey, leathery direction versus like your cowboy leather type of experience. This was moderate all around in terms of projection and performance. Would I want a full bottle of this? I think the answer is maybe. I would definitely like to try it a second time just to see if I feel the same way as I did the first time. If I still find it to be that smooth, buttery, sort of cool feeling fragrance. Pretty, definitely a pretty fragrance. So then Xerjoff released, I think it was maybe in the neighborhood of 5, don't quote me on that, fragrances that look like this bottle here. This is called Layla. And so it's listed as being released in 2023, at least on Fragrantica. However, when you look at the section that says this smells like, there's a fragrance from Chemi, I think it's Blending Magic Company or something like that. I'm not familiar with that brand. That is also called Layla, that looks exactly the same. And so you probably know out there, someone knows, is Chemi a sister house to Xerjoff? Because in the description for this fragrance, it also talks about the line Chemi, the Chemi line. So anyway, I'm assuming that they are sister brands and that Layla and others like it, Aurum is another one, and maybe 3 others that I saw are the same formulas that Chemi put out, but just bottled in Xerjoff bottles. Anyway, so what does Layla smell like to me? So here's my description, not looking at the notes on Fragrantica. This initially smelled like what I call fresh sheet plastic. Like if you think about plastic that is in thin layers that just comes out of the factory, not as chemical as, say, Gucci Rush. Not that kind of plastic, but just a faint, like fresh plastic smell. It also smelled like new, clean, new card leather and soft candied wood. So if you think about the scent of wood, woody notes, and then think about a candied version of that, sort of sweet and candied, sweet and candied, maybe with like caramel and notes like that on top of the wood. Something in that neighborhood is what I got from Layla. So this was moderate all around in terms of performance, and I might be interested in a bottle of this. I saw it on Joma's shop and added to cart, and then decided to pump my brakes and get a sample of it first. So it's a definite, I would say a strong maybe. I have a maybe with an exclamation point in my notes, which usually means I'm really interested in it. Next up is Cosmic Pepper from Mancera. I like the original name of this. I think it's really cool. I don't think that this is a mass appealing fragrance, especially for the female market. This is a very masculine scent. I picked up a lot of citrus, a lot of heavy pepper. I believe it's pink pepper. Or is it black? I think it's pink pepper that's in the fragrance. But anyway, it was highly peppery. And I found it almost woody with definitely some musk in it. This was long lasting all around. It's not a fragrance that I'm interested in for myself, and I don't think I'm interested in for my husband either. It's just not his type of scent profile. He likes the warm, woody, leathery, oody fragrances that have spices to them. And I felt like this fragrance was a little bit too cold and distant for his personal taste. Although I do think it's a nice release, but just not for us. Next, then, from the sister house of Mancera, Montale, this is Infinity. Yes, I do think that this is a mass appealing fragrance. This is like a sweet, dark, ripened fruit fragrance. It had spiciness. It had a really soft, gentle oudiness. I wouldn't say it was a loud, off-putting oud. It was gentle, like a what we jokingly call like a beginner oud on Fracron. And Fracron. Fragcom. This was also vanillic in the dry down. So it had this sweet heftiness in the dry down. I found this to be really interesting and alluring. I sprayed it on skin and enjoyed it. And on the blotter strip, it lasted probably 24 hours. I remember picking it up the next day at around the same time, and my husband and I smelled it again, and we both liked it again. It's a strong fragrance, and it's, I would say, a mature fragrance in some ways. So not for folks that are newer to fragrances and want a gentle fragrance. This is a powerhouse, as are a lot of Montales. But this gets a thumbs up for me. It was really intriguing, really sexy, and very long lasting in my opinion. And I love the name Infinity, love the way that the bottle color looks. Hate those little twirly things on the Montale bottles. But you know this. Let's go on. Next, from Maison Crivelli. You know, this is a house that I've tried probably 4 fragrances from at this point, and I've struck out with all of them. Well, that's not true. The Iris one, is it called Iris Malacon? That was a nice fragrance, but I just didn't feel like I needed it in my collection. But it is really nice, and for Iris lovers, I would say give that one a try. But the others I have felt were overpowering in a very rude way. If you've tried Unique E fragrances, or Unique A, however you say that, those fragrances are like a punch to your senses. And I felt like this was also, did I say the name of the fragrance? Oud Maracuja. Oud Maracuja. This is a hell no in terms of would it be appealing to a lot of people. I think absolutely not. For me, unfortunately, I had a really, this fragrance repulsed me. I don't know how else to describe that. It repulsed me. I disliked it very, very much. I did not want to smell any more of it when I first sprayed it, and it didn't get much better for me in the dry down. I found this to be a synthetic, woody, oody, just kind of hot mess on me, and on the blotter strip too. So this is a hard pass for me. I think it's getting good reviews, and I think a lot of folks love it. So definitely check it out for yourself. This house has a cult following too. There are people that just really enjoy every release from this house, but it was just way too much, even for me. And I tend to have daring taste and like stranger fragrances, but this one was just, it was a no. So this was an absolutely not in terms of would I want to purchase this. I don't want to smell this on my husband. I don't want to smell this on my Amazon delivery guy. I don't want to smell this on the mailman. I don't want to smell this walking down the aisle in the supermarket. I don't want to smell this at a work event. I don't want to smell this at a special occasion event. I don't want to smell this ever again. Period. Next up, ooh, this is getting a lot of playtime, especially on Facebook. In fact, let me rephrase that because I haven't seen a lot about this on YouTube. Maybe a couple of folks have talked about this. This is a surprise release from Guerlain. I don't know that there was a lot of marketing hype around this. Shalimar Millésime Iris. Y'all know how I feel about that Millésime Tonka release. I'm still mourning the loss of my bottle that's out there in the mail universe somewhere. It's out there in the mail or in somebody's hand. Maybe somebody, I don't know. We won't talk about that. Let's get back to Iris. I do think that this has some mass appeal, but only for people that are comfortable with Shalimar. The reviews that I've seen on this say that it doesn't really have the Shalimar DNA. I disagree. I think there is some of the Shalimar DNA, but just in a very soft, subdued, subtle way. It's not the powerhouse that the original Shalimar EDP is. Now, there are a lot of flankers of Shalimar EDP. There's the EDT, there's the cologne version, there's the this, there's the that. There are the citrusy, there's a lot going on in that flanker lineup. But I'm talking about this compared to the OG, which is a little bit animalic, citrus, powdery, leathery, a beauty, a little too much for me. This is a shadow of that, if that makes sense. I found this to be a very soft, buttery, powdery iris. This is an elegant fragrance. I found it to have, like I said, a minimal-esque, harkening back to that original Shalimar DNA in a way that if you're off-put by that fragrance but want to have some sense of it, maybe this iris one is the way to go. You absolutely have to love iris. I think the iris is pretty prominent in the fragrance. I have seen reviews that say that the iris fades and it turns into a vanillic fragrance. I didn't have that experience. I thought that the iris was pretty long lasting in this fragrance. I will say that my husband detested this immediately. So this was moderate to long lasting, but in a very soft way. It settles down quite nicely on the skin and is just almost like a skin scent plus, like a skin scent plus. It's not quite undetectable, but it's sort of a really intimate scent bubble. And I was going to say that this is a maybe for me, but I think based on my husband's reaction that it's probably best that I keep this off of my shelf. I don't know that I would be drawn to this fragrance a lot, but I do appreciate it as a release. And I think it is an excellent pickup for people that are lovers of that soft, smooth, buttery, and powdery. It can't be buttery and powdery at the same time. I know that seems contradictory, but it's the truth. And you like iris. Check this one out. Next up is Deep Dark Vanilla from DS and Durga. This is another hit and miss house for me. I don't think that this is a mass appealing fragrance in any way, shape, or form. Honestly, I found this fragrance rather gross. I didn't care for this at all. It seemed like pungent, dirty, gasoline-y vanilla to me. Like vanilla gone rancid. If you think about a deep, dark baking vanilla, that's almost like too overpowering in the deepness of it. It's not cut with anything else. It's not mixed with any other ingredients. And you first sniff it and it doesn't come off sweet. It just comes off too strong because it's so concentrated. That's a bit of what this smelled like to me, combined with a deep rainforest dirt. And I say rainforest because I'm talking about thick, wet, luscious earth that's really dank and dark and dirty. That smell with that gasoline-y vanilla thing. And there's some greenness somewhere in there. I didn't care for this fragrance. I didn't find this to have any feminine touches to it at all. I'm not afraid of a masculine fragrance. However, this was just like way too to some other territory that I didn't care for. This was moderate all around in terms of the projection and longevity. And I don't want this and don't want to smell this on anyone else. Sometimes there are fragrances that if you don't care for it, you could still appreciate what it would smell like on someone else. Like you'd like to walk by someone and go, oh, that smells lovely on them, but maybe it's not me. It's not my personality, not my flavor. It's just not for me, not for me. This is one that I don't think should be for anyone. Going on to Fragrance du Bois Lovers. This has been out for a little bit this year, and it's got a lot of airtime. I do like the bottle on this. I love the red on the bottle. I think this is probably a mass appealing fragrance. And it came across to me like I describe it like an earthy rose. It was woody and it had fruit nuances to it, fruity nuances. And so some people have equated this to Cavort and said this is just a softer, sweeter version of Cavort. I really like Cavort. I do have it in my collection now. Great fragrance. So I would say that's probably true. This is like Cavort in terms of the woody rosiness, except it has some of that sweeter fruitiness to it as well. This was a nice fragrance. It was moderate to soft. It got pretty subtle about 30 minutes in, meaning it came close to the skin as I sampled it. And this is probably not for me right now because I have fragrances that smell like this. I will say though, if this goes on sale, anything can happen. It was definitely a pleasant sniffing experience. I didn't have any problems with this fragrance. It doesn't smell like what I thought it should smell like based on the name and the color of the bottle. I was hoping for something in just the sweeter, either floral or gourmand sweet direction, but that woodiness does make it seem a little bit like Cavort. So it's a nice fragrance. Let's go then to Pacific Chill from Louis Vuitton. This is a yes in terms of mass appeal. It is strong and citrusy on the opening. I felt like I smelled some blood orange or sweetened grapefruit. This is aromatic, heavily aromatic, very fresh, very vibrant, sweeter and rounder in the dry down, which I appreciated. Opens sort of like this blast of really strong, gorgeous citrus, almost overpowering citrus, but it has enough sweetness that it doesn't feel tart or sour or overpowering. It because of the sweetness, like it keeps it relatable and enjoyable and those aromatic touches. The fact that it gets sweeter on the dry down was even more interesting to me. These Louis Vuitton bottles, Vuitton, the prices can be a little outrageous. This is upwards of $300 for the bottle. So I would love to see this on sale. I don't know that I love it enough to pay full price for it. Maybe, I don't know. My husband really liked this as well. I could see him wearing it. I could see myself wearing it. I can see smelling this on other people and being drawn to them. There was something rather captivatingly happy and fresh and unique about this fragrance. And so I'd like to find this on sale. Then there is Akro Rise. I recently purchased Bake, which I love and adore. That's a fantastic, happy, lemony, gourmandy, sweet fragrance. Rise is on the other side of things in that it's supposed to be tropical. It's supposed to be coconutty. Like I think it's with pineapple in it, maybe some of those types of tropical fruits. I do think that the opening of this fragrance is mass appealing. Like people will probably enjoy it on the opening. However, it smells really familiar, like Body Splash from Bath and Body Works familiar. In fact, maybe the coconut pineapple body splash that I have from vanilla from Bath and Body Works reminds me most of what this fragrance smells like. In the opening, it is a happy tropical drink. The problem is that the fragrance flattens out pretty quickly and like I said, becomes body spray-ish. And I don't use this phrase often, but it does smell rather cheap. This is soft all around. So on top of smelling a little cheap, it doesn't give. And these bottles are not the most expensive, but they're certainly not inexpensive. I'm not interested in this. I don't think that it is interesting or different enough for me to want to pick this up. I'd rather like hunt down Miu Miu Fleur de Lait, which I've never gotten a full bottle of, but I had a beautiful decant and really enjoy that. I prefer that sort of sweet, tropical, like I think that has mango in it, type of scent than this one, which just smelled like it almost smelled like if you think about artificial tropical drink powder that you would put in water and mix like Kool-Aid, something in that direction. Next, we go to Parfum de Marly Althaïr. Let me just say, the bottle of this alone is mega appealing to me. This sort of burnt orange, cinnamony color is probably one of my favorites. My favorite color is like a cognac tobacco honey brown. Woo! That just anything like that, I'm attracted to. So this is close enough to that in terms of fall colors that I love the bottle. I love the male bottles from Parfums de Marly. They're very, very pretty. I think this is maybe in terms of mass appealing. I've watched a number of reviews on this and I've been intrigued by it. And I tried this one probably 3 or 4 times and had my husband try it too. I would describe this as a soft, warm cardamom fragrance with a musky vanilla base and even some caramel nuances. I don't know if there's caramel in the fragrance or if people have talked about picking that up, but as it dried down more, it had just like a really soft, delicate caramel nuance to it. This is the thing about this fragrance. It was strong all around for me, by the way, because I've heard people say that it doesn't last for them. This is a very pleasant fragrance. It didn't feel special enough to grab at full price. I have this thing, like if I'm going to pay full retail price for something, which I rarely ever do, I really, really want to feel like I love the fragrance. This is a fragrance I think I would like and enjoy having in my collection, but I don't feel like paying full price makes sense for what it is right now. The bottle is calling to me, and so I'm just going to keep this in mind for the future and see if it shows up on sale. This is not one that I feel like people need to run out and grab. You probably have something similar in your collection in terms of having that vanilla, spicy type of thing. Yeah, I'm going to leave that one alone for a minute, but let's check this winter when it starts to hit discounters. Okay. And then two fragrances that I haven't seen anyone checking for recently, haven't seen any reviews on these, so I don't know if anyone's talking about them or if there's even any interest in these. One is from Paris, Monte Carlo, and this is Vanille de Tahiti, the Extrait version. I don't think that this is mass appealing. No, 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 no. I think this will be a difficult one for some people to love. For me, this was like heady floral vanilla farts. I'm not sure if I like this or dislike it, despite that weird description of it. It's almost like a vanilla Tootsie Roll. You know how Tootsie Rolls are, the chocolate ones or whatever flavors they are, they can be really appealing, but sometimes if they're too concentrated of a smell, it's almost like slightly nauseating or like off-putting, maybe is a better way to put it. I would say the same is true for this in terms of the vanillic aspects of this. I tried the original of this. Did I purchase a bottle? No, I think I just sampled it. And let me tell you something. It had a very indolic scent to it. It smelled like poo, poo. And again, I'm not trying to be funny when I say that. Yes, it smelled like you walked into the bathroom after somebody had used it. That was a no for me. I had to wipe that off of the, no pun intended, the list of wishes quickly. So I was wondering if I would have a different experience with this one because so many people love the original that I was like, is something wrong with me that I don't pick up what's so fabulous about this? For something that could be heady or off-putting, this had quite a bit of staying power. So this is a no for me right now. I can't wrap my head around what I think about this fragrance and whether it's actually just a strong heady vanilla. Vanilla isn't usually described as heady, but I'm talking about whatever florals are in this fragrance combined with the vanilla to give this sort of heady effect. Maybe it's really fabulous, or maybe it actually just is a fart. So I'm just going to pause on this one for the time being. And I'm going to round out this video with Ateliers des Ors Lune Feline Extrait. I have the Lune Feline original on my wish list, which I am planning to get this fall. I really enjoy that fragrance. And this is after trying it a while back and not liking it at all. So recently I've come to enjoy this fragrance and appreciate the spiciness, the smokiness, the Jessica Rabbit vanilla-ness, vanillic nature, vanillic nature of it. This one, the Extrait, is not mass appealing in my opinion. I feel like the opening of this is an animalic spice bomb, like poof. However, that's really short-lived. This quickly calms down into the original Lune Feline, except the vanilla in the Extrait pushes forward more than in Lune Feline, where I feel like it's easier to pick up the nuanced spices in Lune Feline in a way that I think in this Extrait version maybe is a little bit drowned out by the heavy vanilla aspect of it. I also think the OG has this little tinge of smokiness that gives it this alluring sexiness. If you don't like smokiness, maybe this Extrait version is better for you. It's not, I didn't find it smoky at all. Now, again, this was a quick test. I didn't have a full bottle of it. I wonder how it would smell from a full bottle. But from what I was able to tell from testing it, this does have moderate to long lasting performance. I don't know if I want this. I'm a little bit torn. I definitely want the OG. So it'll be one or the other for me. I don't think I need both in my collection. I feel like this Extrait version vibed for me in the neighborhood of Material from Amouage, if you have or have sampled that one, which is a spicy vanilla with some maybe even leathery aspects to it. Beautiful fragrance, that one. Ooh, I love that one. So good. So I think Lune Feline Extrait will be a pass until I have an opportunity to maybe get a travel spray and see what I think about its performance in a more sort of full fashion than you get to do when you just, sample something. I'm going to end this video with a fragrance that was sent to me for review by Twisted Lily. And I have a code Veronica10 for 10% off of your entire order on Twisted Lily. It's linked below if you're interested in shopping there for some great niche fragrances. This is Juliette Has a Gun Ode to Dullness. What a daring name for a fragrance house to put on a bottle that they want to sell to humans. Because when you think of Ode to Dullness, the word dullness, of course, makes it seem like it is a boring, run-of-the-mill fragrance. And in some ways, it is. And I want to tell you about that. And then on top of that, they had this ombre effect with this grayish, bluish piece on top that gives you the sense of like a dull, rainy day. Wow, that was pretty daring and risky of Juliette Has a Gun to put on there. I want to read you just a little bit about the description of this so you can get a sense of what the fragrance house is going for. This is a tribute to blandness. I love that there can be beauty in ordinariness, in the ordinary. A floral musk with a minimal and creamy composition. It's supposed to be comforting. It's supposed to be soft. It's supposed to make you introspective. Ode to Dullness celebrates the apparent banality of everyday life and the poetry of small nothings, simplicity in art, and the ordinary in the sublime. It has notes of star anise, cashmere flower, sandalwood, and tonka bean, and is supposed to be smooth and velvety. So I'm wearing this today. I doused myself in this fragrance because I wanted everyone in the house to smell me. I was asking my son, what does this make you think of? And he just kept saying, it smells really good. I want to make a business deal with you. He's 15 years old. This made him think of making a business deal, like shaking hands on some big money deal. That's so funny to me. I do think that the top is so hard to pull off on this. Woo! But it is a creamy, velvety feeling. It feels like luxurious soap to me. That's how I would describe this. A luxurious, fancy, hotel soapy feeling with hints of warmth and hints of like that cashmere feeling of a cashmere sweater. I don't know if I'm imagining that because it says cashmere flower as one of the notes, but there is something a little bit soft and fuzzy without being powdery. This is not a powdery fragrance at all, but it has like the feeling that you get when you squish a marshmallow, a fresh marshmallow. Not a stale, old, crusty marshmallow. Not that, friends. A fresh marshmallow. There's something like squishy and pillowy about it. That's the texture that I get from this fragrance. I can't say that I get a whole ton of woodiness. I am probably several hours in and it's still smelling fresh and comforting and soft and pillowy to me. I think that this is one of those office appropriate scents or a fresh out of the shower or hang around the house in your pajama bottoms and t-shirt type of fragrance. Run errands. This is not, a night out wanting to impress people type of fragrance. I love then that this is like an ode to everyday banality and blandness and just your ordinary tasks that you go about every day. Really interesting fragrance. If I had smelled this in store, it would be one that I might be like intrigued by, but maybe wouldn't pick up. However, here's the beauty of having a full bottle versus a sample. I get to actually douse myself in it and walk around and see how the sillage impacts people. And so for people in this house, I have a very picky family. For them to stop me and say, hey, you smell really good. That's very, very nice. That's a pretty big deal. And that's the advantage of being able to have this versus a sample, which I love to sample too, but sometimes nothing does it like the bottle. So tell me if you're interested in Ode to Dullness or interested in any of the other fragrances that I've talked about in this video. Have you purchased them? Let us know in the comments. Tell us your opinion and whether they worked out for you or not. It's really great for our friends here to have a variety of perspectives so that they can get a fuller idea of what a fragrance is like and whether it might work for them or not. With that, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you in the next one. Take care, friends.